What's going on, everybody? It is Jamie,
And John,
and welcome to the A-to-Z Reseller Podcast. How's it going this week, John?
yeah, pretty good. Not too bad at all. We were just talking briefly before this about how the weather's really nice. So that's good. I had a couple of days where I had to have the furnace on, and now today it's just it's like 17 degrees out there. Great day for trick or treating.
Yeah, yesterday I was listing actually in my kitchen in the house. I took some pictures, and I'm like, oh, I'll just sit here, change the scenery since I've been spending so much time in the shed. And the heater was still on, and I couldn't figure out. I'm like, man, I really feel terrible. Like maybe I'm getting like a cold or something. And I look up, and it's like hot air blowing on me. I've got a hoodie on, and I'm like, yeah, probably need to turn that off. It's nice. It's been really nice out.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh geez. So we're recording this actually on Halloween. So this will be old news by Friday. But Dodgers World Series champs, Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, okay. So I go to bed at like 9 o'clock. All right, but I stayed up and I watched it. So I was up till 1 because I'm out on the East Coast. So I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling it. I actually kind of feel like I'm a little bit hungover from actually just staying up too late. But yeah, that was cool. That was a great ball game, I have to say. Like, it's been a really good series, really good ball game. And I mean, like, I'm not a huge fan of either team either way, but I love October baseball because you really see the best of the best.
Yeah. It was great to see, the Dodgers come back and then just claw their way to a win. It was good. It was entertaining, and now it'll be February before we get baseball. But I know you've been playing some PS5 or PS4 baseball, so you'll have plenty to fill the void.
Just a little bit, just the smallest little bit. Yeah, a few dozen games.
Yeah. So now that that's out of my life, that's took up a big chunk of my time. So now we'll go back to regular activities. But how have your sales online been going? Things been kind of leveling out.
I mean, it seems like there's some traction. I say that a lot though, and then the end of the week the total's still kind of disappointing. But I mean, I'm getting some more stuff listed. I've definitely been more active this past week with new stuff, getting more new stuff listed. So I've been doing that, and it feels like the algorithm's getting that little bit of a kickstart. It's a little early to tell, I think, but it feels like things are on the uptick.
Do you feel like so this could be a whole topic. We could probably have a whole conversation about this, but just do you feel like people are afraid to buy in Canada right now because Canada Post is sort of like, we don't know if they're going to go on strike. They're still negotiating, I think. But I think isn't it like November 3rd is there's the potential. And that would shut down Poshmark completely, I would think, unless they've got an alternative. And then, yeah. And then if you were going to buy something on eBay and you were worried about actually getting it, you might not buy something right now. You might just wait it out.
Yeah, I've talked about that in a recent video, and I've got some concerns myself about what happens if Canada Post, me being a rural guy with that's really my only option other than I can use UPS or the third party company that's near me, but I mean that isn't always cheaper or a good option. Of course I'd have to look more into the Stallion Express thing and do that whole thing, but I never really thought about it as something that people could be tentative about as far as buying things online. It never really dawned on me. I just kind of figured that it's something that I needed to think about as a seller because, oh crap, what happens if people are buying things and I don't have Canada Post? But yeah, you're absolutely right. As a buyer, that might be running through people's mind. I don't think a lot of people probably pay attention or really know about it. I only know about it because I've got the small business account through Canada Post, so I get the emails, the updates. They email me every damn day, it seems like, telling me, hey, don't worry, we got your back, and here's the latest of the greatest, which I appreciate. But most people may not even know, really. It's not like they advertise it in the post office, I'm sure, but
yeah, I don't know. I think it feels somewhat public, but I have the same thing. I get those emails. I see people talk about it on different forums. Actually, it's listen to you talk about it yesterday or whenever your video came out a little bit too, which made me think, oh, you know what, that could be that's just made me kind of think, oh, that could be part of a thing. I mean, another thing you mentioned, Stallion Express. I just got a. So let me backtrack for a minute. So first, the last video, I think the last video I released was basically like a how-to Poshmark video to sell in the US. And somebody had commented, because of new legislation, Stallion will require your like a GST number. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I think I gave them one anyway, because it was only ever an issue with them if you needed to get something back from the States. You had to have an importer and an exporter number.
Mm.
And I had that stuff anyway, but they were saying just for regular cross-border shipping stuff. So I kind of tried to deep dive that, and I couldn't find anything out. But what I did see is that United States Postal Service has put these new measures into place that are going to come into effect, I think, late November, like November 25th. And depending on where you buy your postage from or get postage from in general, they're going to get held up at the borders and stuff like that. So one of the places would be Poshmark, because they use stamps.com.
Mm.
Whatever they do, they're not complying with however they have their new thing set up as, like their new guidelines set up as. So I spoke to somebody actually at Stallion today, and they said up until about the 25th, just ship as normal. But after that, they hope to have a new process in place that will make it work out. But they wouldn't tell me what that was. They wouldn't give me
Right.
right. Because I'm just like, should I stop shipping like this? Because it is a big deal to me. And they're like, no, it's totally fine until the 25th. But after that, they're gonna slam the brakes on, and things could really be held up. As far as Stallion Express goes, they said they won't even accept packages the way that they are now, because they won't fit the guidelines.
Hmm.
So, it just made me think of that, because you said Stallion Express there, and I was like, oh yeah, like I just today was speaking with somebody there about that, and I'm like, oh, this could really,
that's really interesting, because now my potential backup plan might not even be a backup plan, because I have no idea about a GST number or anything like that. Like I don't know how to go about getting one, or what that means even.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that you need one, honestly. And,
Oh.
and if you buy, I haven't found any proof that says that you have to have one to use them. What Stallion Express does say, and in the email that I got from them, and that I verified with the agent when I talked to somebody just through chat, if you buy USPS through Stallion Express, they do everything that you are covered. They do everything by whatever they have to do to abide by their legislation. And I don't think I guess UPS is the same as Canada Post. It's like it's government run, right? So,
well, yeah, I mean, you would think, like, if they're doing cross-border shipping, I mean, they know what those processes are. They're acting as like the broker basically as well, and taking care of the cross-border stuff. They're not just like some Joe Blow down the street. You're throwing it in the back of the Civic while he drives to Vermont for the weekend. It's
yeah. Actually, funny, I got somebody messaged me about that again, about the Poshmark video. So they're like, oh, so I could just drive this across the border? And I'm like, well, technically, yes, but I don't know if you legally can. And I said, I don't honestly know the answer. Like, you'd have to look that up. I would think if you're taking sales across the border, even if they were through Poshmark, I would think it could be a big red flag. And it wouldn't be something I would want to do, is drive across the border just to, I don't know how any of that works, and I wouldn't want to give anybody the wrong advice, but it does seem like something that would not be something you'd want to do,
right. Because technically any sales going into the country should be, processed through customs, and, they're going to have, whether explicitly or just kind of behind the scenes, there's going to be some sort of a tariff number or an HS code, that's being run through the system, or at least checked by somebody who's like, yeah, okay, this is allowed in the country. I mean, if you lived, let's say you lived in Windsor and you sold something to Detroit, to your friend on Facebook Marketplace, and it's like, hey man, do you want to give me $10 for this, whatever it is, and you run it over there because you work there and you're going there anyway. Are things like that really a big deal? Probably not. But I mean, if you're actually selling through a platform that like registers an actual mailing label, and there's obviously like international monies being exchanged, then yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
probably
That
different.
that particular bridge that you mentioned, I think that they charge you like, I think it might have been like close to $15 now to cross the bridge. I don't know if
Wow.
it's on both ways, but I'm like, it'd be cheaper to ship than drive it across the border because they charge you to cross it now.
Yeah. Well, there must be people who like, because I mean, you're literally right across, the river. I
Yep.
mean, there must be people who probably work on either side, or I guess, I mean, if you're a Canadian citizen, you're living in Windsor, there must be some legal ramifications. But I mean, normally, you can get a work visa. It's only good for so long. But like, I'm sure in like bordering towns like that, there must be cases where people are working, in the next city over, and it's either Canada or the US. And it must be some kind of like special way they handle that as far as like visas and stuff go. So like,
Yeah.
if you had a job that was just across the bridge and you had to pay $15 every time, I wonder, there must be like some kind of a monthly pass you can get, I'm sure.
I know you can sign up for a Nexus pass, which basically lets you
Okay.
pass past the line.
Mm.
You have to pay for it, and I think you got to go get fingerprinted and the whole deal. I think it's actually pretty expensive. I've never looked into it, but I know that is like one of the things. But yeah, I don't know if it really helps with the fee for the bridge or anything. But potentially,
Mm.
if you're working across, maybe you get some sort of, maybe you get paid so much money for commuting and whatever. Hard to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, if I ever move to Windsor, I'm not sure I want to work in Detroit anyway, but just food for thought for anybody who lives specifically
Yeah.
near that bridge and has any experience with this, let us know.
Yeah.
Not that it has anything to do with reselling, but talk about a tangent. Wow.
Yeah, no, no. I think it still makes sense though, because I mean, how we got there was, can you just drive packages across the
Oh,
border?
right, right,
Right.
right.
I
There
would
was there
say,
was a method to our madness.
yeah, I still would say I wouldn't. And if you are going to, make sure that you're allowed to, because it seems a little questionable just because of import export, even if it's just a t-shirt. The last
Mm,
thing you want to do is get yourself in trouble at the border, because then anytime you ever want to do anything that's not within Canada or within what it's like, it's a big thing not to be able to go into the States.
yeah. Oh yeah, they're pretty strong about their borders.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else has been happening this week? I did have something else. I thought that, oh, I wanted to ask you about, we've talked about this before, but I didn't remember the answer when I thought about it. I'm starting to consider, I always promote everything at 2% on eBay. You also promote
Yeah, I promote everything at 3%.
3%. Okay, so you do promote higher than I do. So what I was considering, so I've still not completely went through my store, but what I was considering, like, instead of running a sale, I'm like, I wonder if I just ran a 10% promotion instead of a 10% sale. Logically, it kind of makes sense to me. And maybe it still wouldn't, if something sold, it doesn't have to sell through promotion. I've never promoted ever at that high. I would be a little bit of afraid just because of the eBay algorithm. You do that, you get the boost, maybe you
Mhm.
get a few sales, but then it trickles off, and you're like, do I really want to keep this at 10%? If you
Right.
essentially, if you started, do you think you can pull it back, rein it back in a little bit? Because that would be the part of it that I wouldn't be so comfortable about.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. I think like for me, for the categories I sell in, which is mostly clothing and video games, I think for clothing, I I don't see much benefit in promoting more than 3% because think about like even within like semi-popular brands, think about like how much variation there is with clothing. I think having a good title and like good strong keywords and description is more likely to get views on your item if it's clothing.
Yeah,
And then, a small amount of promoting doesn't hurt either, right? Now, in like video games, where maybe you're trying to sell a copy of Wii Sports and, 7,000 other people are also trying to sell it. Well, if you didn't want to just be absolute bottom price, then maybe that's where a higher promotion to get ahead of the other people who are promoting does make more sense. So
got
I
it.
think it's probably a little bit more dependent on category. I'm no expert, but I think that for me, that's how I would look at it. I don't think I'd ever promote anything clothing wise higher than like 3%, unless it was like something that was maybe sort of in like a little bit more of a saturated market, but I can't even think of what that might be because I typically don't like, I don't get, Tommy Hilfiger button up shirts or, Polo Ralph Lauren button up shirts. Like, you're going to have 20,000 of them on eBay and yours is never going to be seen.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. I was just trying to think of different ways to, I'm still very happy with my sales and everything's, it's definitely down from probably past years, but I'm overall still in a good place. But I've just been trying to think of different ways to, to move stuff essentially. And I'm like, well, that is an option, but is it a good one?
Oh, I mean, I think it's a good option. But like you say, is the algorithm going to be like, oh, cool, this guy's doing 10% on everything?
Yeah.
And then start like, see, what I don't know, and maybe this is kind of it is just too crazy and too much of a conspiracy theory, but what I'm not sure about is whether or not the AI of the algorithm will then expect things from you, like not consciously expect things from you, of course, but if you're promoting everything at 10% for 3 weeks and then you cut everything back to 2%, will you be penalized for that?
Yeah. I feel like you would be personally, but I mean, there's no proof to say that you would or wouldn't, but yeah. It's like taking your foot off the gas pedal. It's certainly going to affect things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's my only thing. Like I would like to try it, or at least try. I would do 2% across the board. So even going up a little bit wouldn't be too scary. But my brain's like, why would you go up a little bit when you could go up? You're already would run a sale sometimes at like 15 or 20% off. So why wouldn't you just take 10% into promotion? It's not like probably a 1-to-1 ratio on it, maybe dollars being the same there.
Right. But it's pretty close.
Yeah, I would think it's close enough to think along those lines anyway. But yeah, I don't know, just something I've been thinking about. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I think we had, I didn't bring it up, but I think we had a comment from our last podcast where we were talking about the fee structure on Poshmark. And somebody had said, and this makes total sense. And I think when we were talking, I wasn't thinking about the fact that you sell on Poshmark Canada only. And I know that and that the fee structure was all for Poshmark.com. So the US one. So of course the year fees would have all looked the same because they weren't affected.
Okay.
So I did see that in the comments, and I thought, oh, we should maybe just bring that up just in case somebody else is like, yeah, I don't see it either. Well, if you're just selling on Poshmark Canada, you wouldn't have seen any difference whatsoever.
I gotcha. So they had only implemented that on the US. Probably if it had done okay, they would have done the same in Posh Canada, but yeah, they didn't get to that point. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I just thought clarifying that made sense. We should go back. I know we've done this before. I should go back and look through the comments. I do know we have some Spotify comments and comments here on YouTube. We don't typically deep dive the comments, but I do like to go look at them every once in a while. And that was one that I noticed was like, oh yeah, that's exactly where we missed it.
See, I'm glad that you and our viewers know what they're talking about because I don't have a clue. I don't know what I'm doing. Newsflash, folks.
No, I don't think. I think we just got into the conversation, and then I think we both just sort of
just kind of
missed the key point. Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny how that happens, like, and I think about it all the time, like in my regular job too. It's like it's so easy for us humans to like miss something completely obvious or try to like, with a fix or a workaround, just like do this 10-step crazy. Okay, well, all right, if we do this, then this, then this, and this, that will fix it. And like, meanwhile, the obvious, glaringly obvious answer is right here in front of you. Like, no, we just need to do this one thing. But I don't know. It's funny how we're such an advanced species, but at the same time can just be like completely clueless sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
guilty.
Yeah. What we were talking, I think you were saying you were hoping to get like potentially a video game buy. Did that all work out? Did you?
Not yet, but we're in some early chats. I think that the guy that I'm talking to is not necessarily in a rush to sell, but knows that he needs some money coming up in the not too distant future. So I think he's probably going to try to part things out a little bit himself, maybe make some money, on marketplace or something like that. Try to get a little bit closer to market value for some of the things, but I could see maybe like a month from now, or maybe even like right after Christmas, it being a case where it's like, all right, what have you got here? Let's come up with something, because he'll probably come to the realization like, oh crap, I'm not getting market value for everything here, and this is not, no one wants to spend exactly what something's worth. Like, I wouldn't want to do that if I was just collecting for myself. Obviously, I wouldn't want to do that if I was trying to resell it to make some money. You're never going to go out and buy like a huge lot of something, a big bundle deal at market value. It just doesn't happen. So when you're a seller, of course, sometimes you're like, oh no, it's okay. I can squeeze more out of it. But yeah, I think we'll probably see more about that in the next month or two, and I'll definitely keep you posted, because it could be pretty significant. There might be opportunity to make a couple $1,000 off of it. So
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
yeah,
And that's the one thing. There's sort of an art to that private pick, private buy too, right? Like I know the last one I went to, so I showed you all, like I've got some listed here. There's some baseballs, and by the time this comes out, I think part of a video will be out that has some of that stuff in there. But when you go to somebody's house to private pick their collection or something that they loved, you can read them really quick whether they just want to get rid of this stuff or they're attached. I know in the case of this private pick that I did, I could tell this guy was very attached to this stuff. He did need money and was motivated to sell, but not cheap.
right.
And I think his fiance was probably pushing the sale more than he wanted to sell. So I was able to buy the stuff that he wasn't so attached to. Luckily for me, the things he was attached to were mostly hockey cards and trading cards, which I didn't really want. So I was able to get good enough deals on, like some signed balls, hockey pucks, sports jerseys, stuff like that. And I did really well. But I still paid up for the stuff. And I know he wasn't really in the mindset where he was ready to sell, because he had everything laid out. And I had said to him before I went, even like kind of think in your mind, what is this worth? So we can start there, and maybe I would just buy it all. And, I walked in the door and he valued it at like everything at like, he thought retail was 20,000, but he would take 10. And I'm like, whoa, we're not even in the same universe here. So then I'm like, we're going to have to dissect things and figure out what's what. I still walked away spending like, $1,000+ So I spent money there, but, in my head, when I was walking in, I'm like, okay, he's motivated to sell. Today I could spend, I think I had $2,500 that I could spend comfortably without having to figure out anything else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, that ain't going to happen. So what's the most I can get out of my money?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like that's one of the main things I've been trying to do, and it's something that I would definitely suggest to any newer resellers. Like as soon as you can, just try to build that bank of money that you can actually spend. Like, have that money that's for the business. That's and maybe when you're first starting out, that's $100, right? Like, and maybe you just keep that separate, and it eventually grows. But then you spend it because you buy a lot. You gotta wait for some more stuff to sell, and maybe it's a little bit of a slow go, but like. It's kind of like building your bank at a poker table or something. You just got to play smart and, don't take any real bad beats. And eventually you've got that chunk of money that you can, you can do these lots and stuff. And that's where there is some really good opportunity for, cheaper buyouts and good profits. It's just, you got to put up some money up front, but Don't take it away from your bill funds, and you should be fine.
Yeah, I think if you're putting it back into your business and not trying to do that on a credit card or something, right? But yeah, even on a smaller scale, I think knowing even if you walk into a yard sale, um, you could even include a thrift store. You can walk into a thrift store and you can know that their prices aren't realistic for you to sell it, right?
Yeah.
Same thing when you go to a yard sale, you can see like, oh, you've got eBay printouts of this stuff. I don't think I'm going to buy too much here. And sometimes you still do. So it's not to say you shouldn't try, but if you can read the person or read the room, or that's a big part of it too, right? Because you'd be wasting a lot of time constantly going to a thrift store that's overpriced if you know you're not going to buy anything there. That's
Exactly. Yeah. Value Village comes to mind.
yeah. I scroll through every once in a while. Value
Yeah.
Village is not on my everyday, or I drive past one a couple times a week and I don't stop most of the time.
Yeah. I will go in there probably about once to twice a month and just take a real quick browse, look for stuff that's in the case, like maybe I can get some Wii's or something like that.
Yep.
Because they're a good seller. I'll skim through like jackets and light jackets, footwear, stuff like that. But I mean, I could skim through the things that the areas I think that I might be able to make some money and probably be out of there in like 10, 15 minutes. 90% of the time, I don't buy anything because it's like, okay, there's nothing here that's worth it. But every now and then you do get that like really good gem where it's like, wow, I can't believe they only put $15 on that, and you sell that for $150 or whatever it is. And then that makes that worth it. But yeah, I feel like I could easily waste a lot of time in there looking around and just knowing that I'm going to find the same sort of low margin items, but every now and then. So I still go in there like once a month, probably, sometimes twice. But
Yeah. It's funny how you learn that over time too. Like I know you like the same as me. It's not that I wouldn't go into one. I pick and choose when I do. But when I was starting out, like I couldn't drive past one without wanting to go. Whether I thought I was just excited to hunt and look, and you never knew. But when you get more serious about picking up inventory, you kind of get routes and stuff that work for you. And these are places that in the past I've had success finding stuff and making money from. And that's sort of what you kind of need to figure out for yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of times, like when I go bowling on Monday evenings, or I go into my neighboring town to run some errand, like I've got to go past a couple of these spots, or I'll leave like 15 minutes early so I can do a skim through one of the thrift stores or something. And like if I do that once a week or sometimes even twice a week, I can pick up a lot of really great stuff with those quick little 5-10 minute skim throughs, because I'm in there frequently enough that I'm finding like any cool new gems they've got in there, but I'm also not wasting my time going in looking over every item all the time and trying to like do it while I'm also running an errand, or I'm already right there. I got to go to the bowling alley that's 10 buildings away or something like that. For me, that's the best way for me to do it. And then of course, we do have our targeted like sourcing trips that we go out and we do, but it's funny, like those quick little routes, those little pop-ins, like, well, I'll just pull in here for 5 minutes. Like, I think I make more money that way from those things than I do when I'm actually going out and, sourcing for a day or something like that with the intention of getting, a bunch of stuff to resell.
Yeah. But that's part of the fun of it too, that when you can just do that little quick pop into some place, especially if you do find something, because it certainly will, if you're spending 15 minutes, it doesn't matter either way. But if you do find something, it certainly makes your day.
I love knowing that I've got like 5 extra minutes and I'm like, okay, I'll just pop in, and I walk around, and in that 5 minutes, I pull out like $400 worth of stuff, and I've spent like $10. It's like, oh my God, that was great. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, but it's just such a thrill when that does happen. It's like when you know you've won, and you've won to that degree, it makes your day.
Yeah. Well, how making your day? There must have been one day this week that made your day if you had a sale of the week.
I did. I had a great sale this week. This was something that I can't remember if my girlfriend or I saw this, but we found it at our local clothing thrift store, and it's a Christmas sweater, and it was a Taco Bell Christmas sweater.
Well, that's
I'll
awesome.
send you the pic here so you can put it in, and it's basically like jingle bells, taco shells, and it's just, yeah, I mean, it's a Taco Bell Christmas sweater. What can I say? It's cool. And so I think we found this back in like July or August, and I got it listed right away because, I mean, stuff like that can sell year round, but I kind of figured it would be around now when it actually sold. And so we would have paid about $7.50 for it, and it sold for $62. So
Wow,
that's not bad at all.
that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
The coolest Christmas sweater I ever found in the past was I found two different Metallica ones,
Oh, nice.
and they both sold for about $50 roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some pretty great ones out there. I would think subject matter on most of those, because you can always get the kind of goofy ones, with the snowman or like a,
Right.
a drunk Jesus or something on one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the branded ones or themed ones with like Taco Bell, I would think that's pretty awesome. Somebody's definitely going to be scooping that up.
Yeah, they do well. We've sold a decent amount of Christmas sweaters over the past couple of years, and yeah, you're right. Things like that are branding or like restaurant themed, or like bands like the Metallica stuff, or even like some sports ones can do well. Like
Yeah.
I've sold a couple New England Patriots Christmas sweaters, or Minnesota Vikings Christmas sweater, or things like that, where if it's got like kind of a cool pattern, football fans especially, they're a little bit loopy anyway, so they might like to have a Christmas sweater like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's something to look out for. I mean, definitely don't think you'll get rich from those just goofy like dollar store ones, with the snowman or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's some good ones.
Man, when you said the sports team ones, I just remembered that recently I sold a Dodgers one.
Oh
And
yeah,
I'm like, oh yeah, Shohei Ohtani, somebody who's going to want this. And I got good money, but now that they're World Series champions, I probably could have got great money for it now. But
yeah.
that's a chance you take. Yeah. So my sale of the week is, so I actually showed this on the Scott Sell Stuff show this past Sunday night. I was a guest, and it was a Jerome Ginla jersey, and it was an interesting one because it was a captain's jersey, so it had the C.
Mm-hmm.
C was in the shape of the Calgary Flame that's actually on fire.
Oh, nice.
I had never seen that before, and I actually had a really hard time even finding that exact jersey anywhere. So I'm like, okay, so this is actually kind of maybe a little bit rare. I wouldn't say that it's like ultra rare or it's going to be thousands of dollars, but I'm like, instantly, this is like $100 plus for sure.
Right.
Listed it for $88 US. Same day, I took an offer of $80 US, which was it's about like $111 Canadian. I think I paid about $40 because it's from the same guy that I got the baseballs and the pucks and everything.
Yeah.
The question is, did I list it too low, or was that extra $8 going to be a big deal? For me, it was decent money, a cool jersey, and I would take $111 any day.
Yeah, that's a nice quick sale. Like that's starting to bring back some of that cash you dropped on that that stuff. Like, yeah, could you have held out and maybe got closer to 150? Well, maybe, but like, how long would you have had to wait? And then maybe not, right? Maybe that was the threshold, 111, 120, that kind of a range, and you just had a good listing and someone was looking for it, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was a size medium, which I thought, okay, this might take a little longer. Not that that's a bad size, but the XLs, 2XLs, they just sell faster.
Oh yeah. No, like okay. So knowing that it was a medium, no, I would have done the exact same thing. I would take my money and run.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you're right. It's not a bad size, but when it comes to jerseys, sporty stuff, typically large and up is going to be much better. XL, double XL, way better. But yeah, because I mean, let's face it. Like I wear a medium. I'm a small guy. Like there's not a lot of guys my size that well, okay, I don't know if this is true or not. I feel like there's not a lot of guys my size, or not as many guys my size, who are wearing, the sports jerseys and stuff as there are the bigger guys.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's fair. There's not as many of us as there are the 2XLs.
Sure. And even a lot of guys who might be smaller, you might want to buy a size up so that you can wear a hoodie or something underneath of it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially if you're going to take it to a game where it's freezing cold and the whole deal.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, I was happy with that. I've got quite a bit of that stuff listed already too. I'm trying to work through the baseballs. There's one autographed jersey. I can't remember who it is. It's an Islanders jersey, and I don't know who the captain is. I don't think it's new. I don't know too much about the guy, honestly, but it is autographed with like a legitimate C of A, and I've got like all the documentation. It looks like that one is going to be probably the biggest score from that whole buy.
Okay.
But that one deserves me taking more time to look it up and make sure all the things are right. Where right now with the baseball, I can list the baseball in like 5 to 10 minutes, like pretty quick. Take pictures, research, make sure everything's right. You know, they've got a little C of A number. I just been looking them up, making sure that number matches what I'm selling, so that I'm not putting the wrong number and stuff on there.
Right. Yeah. That's well, that's cool if you've actually got those like authenticity numbers and stuff like that. I mean, that definitely helps move that kind of a product, because it's so easy to just get dupes and fakes.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know much about. I was gonna try to make like a video about the entire buy, and then I started, and the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? I'm the wrong person to do that. I would like to talk about the stuff that I bought, but I don't know. I've never sold any of this stuff. I don't know how it's gonna go. A lot of it doesn't sell that often, so like it's not like you can throw up exact comps of this ball, because this ball was signed in a particular year, and this one was. It might be circumstances why something's worth something. I'm like, I don't want to be the go-to video for anybody trying to buy this stuff. I'd rather just say that I bought it, show you what I did. We can figure it out in my what solds if I made a good buy or not.
That's fair. That kind of makes me think of like those. Remember those two like Dave Steed bobbleheads, like the no-hitter bobbleheads that I bought a while back, and they both sold for probably about like $200 a piece or something. But like, I really had no comps to go by. I mean, there was one that I could see that had sold, like without the box and whatever, and there was a number attached to that sale, of course. But like, I was basically making up a number at that point, because with stuff like that like doesn't sell very often, when you don't have the others to kind of go by, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to undercut myself and undervalue it since I own the market, but I also want to sell this thing. So you kind of feel a little bit like, you've got all the power and all the control, but that you could really shoot yourself in the foot as well, right? Because you don't want to just wait forever to get your money back. You kind of want to make a sale, but
yeah,
it's a balance.
Those were great. I forgot about the Dave Steve bobbleheads. That was a nice flip.
I wanted to keep one, but I couldn't justify it. I think I had spent like $40 a piece, and I think one sold for $250 and the other one for like $220. So I mean, I really can't justify having yet another thing just sitting on my shelf collecting dust when I could make that kind of money from it. But yeah, what jersey are you wearing now? That looks really interesting to me.
It's Pluto Devil Dogs. It's a
okay
one. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I forget. It's got like the little Pluto on the side, and then like a pitchfork type thing on there. It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I bought this a couple of years ago on Facebook Marketplace from somebody, and I wore it to like Disney a couple of years ago to one of the not so scary Halloween parties, and it's just every once in a while I'll pull it out. I'm like, oh, it's perfect time of year to wear this.
Yeah. Well, like I couldn't make out what it was. Like, I was thinking, I don't recognize that. No, it's not like I recognize all teams and all logos and everything, but it kind of looked really interesting, and I couldn't see the Devil Dogs thing down below, of course. So I had to ask. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, Disney makes some pretty cool stuff. There was a whole series of them. I looked them up when I found this one, and I like this does sell for good money, but I'm like, oh, this is actually something that I would like wear. Maybe someday when I'm just over it, I'll get rid of it. But for now, it can live in my closet.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So what's do you have some plans here going into the week? Anything happening? I know baseball's over. You can still virtually play baseball. bowling started back up. What's going on in the life of John or just John the person, not John the
John
reseller?
the person. Well, John the person, yeah. So bowling's back, ball's over. Very sad about that, but um, going to be doing a little bit more dog sitting coming up on Sunday. I go and I meet a couple of I meet some people and a couple more dogs. I was talking to the guy a little bit, and he said, "Well, I've got one crazy dog and then one really just like lazy oafy dog." I was like, "Okay, what's the crazy dog?" He's like, "Well, he's good. It's just he's a beagle." I'm like, "Okay, we'll say no more. I understand. Beagles are nuts, but they're good dogs." And then the other one is actually an American Mastiff, so a massive, huge dog, right?
Yeah.
But they rescued this Mastiff when it was only like 7 weeks old, and it was basically raised by the Beagle. So so it's this like huge dog, but with like kind of Beagle quirks, which is just interesting. So I go and meet them and see what that's all about and get some details about their trip they're taking on Sunday, and then yeah, I'll be with them later in November until first couple of days of December. So probably like 10 nights or so. And it's only like 10 minutes from home. So it's a good one too, because it doesn't interfere with anything that I'm doing, my reselling, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just got that going on, meeting animals, getting, planning more ways to make money going into a spend money season.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I know we're not personally doing too much. I know for our other business, we're doing this Sunday, we're doing our Christmas party. It seems pretty early, but it's really busy around Christmas in the spa. And people have stuff with their family and stuff like that. So we're doing it early, and we're just doing like an event. So we bought tickets for everybody to go see Evil Dead the musical in Toronto.
Okay.
So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna take everybody out for like Chinese food or something. Doing like the big stretch limo, so it'll be fun. Nice not to have to worry about driving into Toronto for a change. Have somebody else drive, and it'll be a good time. We're also trying to decide whether we want to do the actual Christmas parade in our town. I think it would be kind of fun, but we're gonna be, if we decide to do it, we'll be down to the wire. But those are like the big things happening for us. Other than that, it's just regular stuff, back to like boring old I don't know, YouTube and Netflix at nights. And yeah.
I hear you. My life is not exciting at all. So I fill it with these these YouTube adventures and reselling and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, realistically, like I said, I stayed up last night to watch the ball game. Man, that almost killed me. Like, I go to bed at 9 these days. Staying up till 1 to finish watching the ball game is like I got to stay up and give out candy to the kids this evening, for trick or treating. Oh yeah, okay. So I do dress up and do the whole vampire thing. So I've got the outfit, and I don't know if you would have seen it before, but from last year, I can't remember like when we became like Facebook friends or whatever, but yeah, like I do the whole like vampire, like the makeup, the teeth and everything. And I've got this get up. And so this will be year 4 of being the vampire in my community. And it's so funny because the first couple of years, so many kids were excited about it, because I don't think a lot of people really dress up and do this kind of thing anymore. I think a lot of people who are giving out candy are just like opening the door, here you go, chuck you the candy, and it's like, see you later. So when I was a kid, like you'd go to houses all the time while you're trick-or-treating, and like almost half the people are dressed up in a costume of some kind, and it makes for more fun. So I'm kind of building a little bit of a local legend here, and the first couple of years, like I say, some of the kids were just like, there's a vampire that lives in that house over there. Or, oh, we're going to the vampire's house. And it's just like, so it'd be really funny, because I feel like so far I've been lucky. I don't feel like I'm aging very quickly. So, and then also when I've got like makeup on and stuff and I look like a vampire dressed up, I'm going to look exactly the same every year. So it'd be really funny if I'm still doing this like 20 years from now, and people are, these kids are now bringing their own kids, and they're like, oh my God, this guy looks exactly the same.
Well, you probably will. It's probably all the blood you've been drinking that's keeping.
That's what it is. It keeps me young. Yeah. Yeah. It keeps me young. We go to those little secret meetings in the woods at night, and suck back the goblets of blood, and yeah, it just, really rejuvenates the cells.
It really does work. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you do like videos like this, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing as we're trying to hit 100 subs before the end of the year. We're at 91 right now. I think it's achievable, but I guess only time will tell. We'll see you guys on the next episode.